I'm Christine Brown. I work at the Not Worldwide, and I'm really excited to be here. I've been working in product for a long time. I started in New York, went to California, and the inaugural New York Product Conference was actually the first thing that I did when I moved back to New York. So it's been so amazing to see this community grow and continue to grow. I'm going to talk a little bit about what Parenthood re-taught me about product. It has been a pretty amazing year for me professionally, just like super interesting. The company I work at, the Not Worldwide, started the year as an entirely different company. We went through a big merger between what was Exo Group and Wedding Wire. So now we're the biggest wedding company, not just in the US, but in the whole world. We have a footprint in the US, Central and South America, Europe, and also India. So there was a lot associated with navigating those changes organizationally. I've also had the opportunity to work on some really fascinating product problems, so started the year running some experiments geared toward trying to figure out how to blow up a 20-year-old business model. Then I shifted over to working on registry and e-commerce, which is something I've never done before. So there's a lot of really good stuff in there. But when I took a step back and was thinking about, well, what is my biggest insight from the year, all I could think about was this kiddo. This is Aya. My daughter was born in May of this year. So I spent actually the summer on maternity leave, spending time with her. And it certainly was the longest time I've been away from product since I started working in this field, and probably the longest time I've been away from work since I was maybe 14. But weirdly, as I got to the end of my leave, kind of surfaced from the haze, started working again, there's a couple of things that I feel parenting really re-taught me about product that I want to work through with you guys today. So first, being a parent is kind of like being a product manager. Your kid is kind of like your product, weirdly. So first I'm going to talk about users. And when you're a parent, I don't know how many of y'all are parents, but the amount of literature out there in terms of best practices, books, blogs, experts, Instagram accounts, it is staggering. So here's how to feed your kid, here's how your kid should sleep, here's what they should be doing developmentally, here's how your kid should sleep, did I mention sleeping? And it's really easy to start to feel as though you are like not doing it right if you're not doing it the way that somebody who wrote a book tells you to do it. Similarly, schedules. I love a schedule. I'm a product manager. I once broke out into hives at about 6:40 in the evening when my husband suggested we start giving Aya a bath because, as I told him in my sleep-deprived haze, 6:40 was not an even time. I wanted to start at 6:45. And so it's funny now. It was not funny in the moment. But again, I'd read something about this is the way that you're supposed to do it, right? And what I was losing sight of is the fact that it's not actually necessarily what all the other people tell you or what users of other products tell you. It's about, in that case, the child that's in front of me. How that translates to product management is you all are responsible for knowing your product and your user better than anybody else at your company. And part of that is understanding best practices and being well-read and talking to other product managers and learning kind of the right way to do things. But don't let yourself lose the connection to the people that are actually using and touching your product. They're the ones that matter the most. And if you're able to focus every day on building things that impact them in a positive way, you'll find that you're building products that are more effective and add more value for your users and thus for your company. Next, I'm going to talk a little bit about data. So who loves data? We all love data, analyze all of the things. And when I first gave birth and had a daughter, I realized that there are apps out there in the world that allow you to track everything. Sleep, diapers, feeding, mood, et cetera. And it was very tempting to keep track of every little thing and almost turn the raising of a kid into a little bit of an experiment. We went so far with sleep to develop this is connected to a spreadsheet, which I'll show you in a second, track literally every night how was Aya sleeping, Did she sleep long enough? What were we doing? You're desperate for finding connections, and we were really in the weeds of all of this data. And to the point where I would say, over-indexed on paying attention to the details and lost the big picture a little bit. So here's an example of that. This is a graph. This is actually Aya's sleep time each night over the course of a couple of weeks when she was just starting to sleep longer, and we were desperate for her to sleep through the night because I was going back to work. And in the moment, I remember this time really well, and I was literally every morning looking at how many hours did she sleep, what was happening to the graph. And I remember being panicked a couple of these nights because I was like, it's not happening, it's not moving in the right direction, this isn't looking good. But I was so in the weeds of every little thing that I lost the bigger picture, which was in fact that she was sleeping quite well and was making really good progress. So what does that mean when it comes to product management? Data is super powerful. Use it. I would never stand here and say, don't run experiments. But two things. Not everything needs to be a test. There are some things that you don't actually need to test. And if you do experiment, make sure you let it ride. Let it run long enough that you have enough data to draw appropriate conclusions from what you're experimenting with. So for the first concept, not everything needs to be a test. Sometimes there are just usability enhancements or things that you know that you just need to do. That's okay, just ship them. In some cases, testing is actually going to slow you down. If you do run an experiment, make sure that you take the time to design it thoughtfully and understand how long you're going to need to let it run in order to get to significance so that you're not drawing the incorrect conclusion from your data. I've definitely been guilty of setting up the A/B test, super excited, and you start immediately looking at Optimize or Optimizely or whatever tool you're looking at, and you've got 1% significance, but you're like, oh, this one might be winning. Resist that temptation. Make sure that you let it ride to the end and you have a sample size that's big enough before you draw conclusions to keep that big picture. At the end of the day, just sort of the last thought I'll leave you with, it was really invigorating for me to spend time away from work. And I think it's allowed me to come back, and when it comes to products, this is a hard job, right? What we do every day is hard, and it can be unforgiving, but it's really, really fun. We get to solve problems every day. We get to build cool things, and we're so lucky to do it. So thank you for letting me share some of my insights from the last year. Enjoy lunch.